Good evening. I know. Welcome to a wonderful Monday night. I want to thank everybody for taking time to come and join us. Well, it might be wonderful. I mean, it could be a little warmer for John. I mean, they
It
finally
was
got up to like single
it
digits,
was
so
50
he's like,
degrees
it's a
today.
heat wave.
50
But
degrees today.
50.
I might have
It's
sunburn.
warmer there than it is here.
I know,
What
it
the
was
heck?
crazy. And tomorrow's supposed to be near 60. Oh, I don't
Send it
know.
over here.
Yeah,
I could use some of that. That's
it was
for sure.
beautiful, beautiful day. Great day for a 6-mile run, right, Cubbie?
Yeah, I'll follow you in my car.
Okay, great. That'll be fun.
Listen, two of the three of us, John's already done a half. I'm committing to one. You're next, Cubbie. You're next.
Half a sandwich? Are you talking like half a Subway sandwich? Are you talking? What are we talking half of?
Yeah, but
let's clarify.
we got to be more specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get. So I
Okay,
get
we
for
just
being
ate at
vague.
Subway, so that's about all I can afford anymore. Is that half a sub? It's like, oh my god, how much did you want for that sandwich? I'm sorry, it's $20 a piece. They're $40 for two. What?
Right, need their app.
Oh
Just
man,
use their coupons.
man. Anyway, so we're gonna diverge a little bit. Well, this could be actually part of the tied-in topic of what you're going to be doing during the off season. Maybe you're going to be using the app during the off season to save money.
There you go.
That's
There you go.
tonight's tip right there. Yeah. No, but guys, what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight is the off seasons come up for most of us across country. There's a few places yet where they're still wrapping up their kind of end of the year weddings, but then we're getting into the holiday season and that corporate parties for some folks. But the wedding season is pretty much going to come to kind of an end for most DJs. And just wanted to throw some ideas out there for, might be some people who are like, hey, I have some extra time. Maybe I had a job on the side before and I don't now. I'm just starting full time. Maybe it was one of those things that they just find that, they have a few extra hours and they're like, hey, how can I utilize those to help my business and help what I want to be doing for the upcoming year or years? So I thought, let's just brainstorm and see what we can come up with, because there's things that we have done during this time of the year and there's things that we've done and look back and said, wow, that was a waste of time. So that's what I wanted to go through and kind of talking about kind of some different areas and, from the maintenance standpoint and, and then maybe what we do to drive more business and how do we, whatever. So, since gear seems to be such a big topic and everyone loves gear topics, let's kind of start there, of what kind of things, do you do? Hey, did I bring it? Oh no, I didn't. It's over there. I mean, I brought one of my. I brought a prop.
Oh,
Yeah.
Go get it.
I'll have to go get it. So.
props are cool.
Yeah, it's just right around the corner here.
I'm afraid of what this prop might be.
If it's
Now,
a big
now that
foam,
he said the way he said it, I get a little scared.
it's a big foam cowboy hat. I'm running.
All right. So one of the things that I've got two of these, and this is my pretty one that's not all scratched up, and then I've got the original Moat, the mother of all testers. Oh. And this is one of the things that I do at the end of this season with a lot of the different speaker wires and things that I have, is that this from NLFX. You guys go NLFXpro.com. You can go out there, you search Moat, MOAT, and it will pop up. But basically, is once the batteries are in, you plug one side of the wire on one side on the other, and you can go through and you can actually test the pins and making sure that there's connection. So you hook in your XLR wires and then you shake the ends of it, because then that will tell you if you've got a bad connection. And this is this is the current version, and there's a new version that's going to be coming out shortly. But you've got the combo. You've got different combo jacks, and let me see if I can get a better light on that. But you've got XLR there, and
DMX, 5-pin DMX.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much just about every cable that you could think of.
Precisely.
And then some.
Yeah,
it
and
really is. I mean, I've not run into anybody who's gone, oh, you mean that wasn't on there? And then Ben comes out with a new version that has it on there.
Yeah, because we've got HDMI and Ethernet and just Ben did say, I believe that this one does not have USB-C, and I think that was
Mhm.
what the next generation is going to be utilizing USB-C. But it's just a nice little device to be able to check wires. And there's been numerous times where I have put an XLR wire, like a 6 foot one that I was using, and I start shaking it, and I'm finding out that, wait a second, I'm losing signal on one of the wires. I didn't even notice it in the show or when I was using it, or it wasn't apparent to me. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't causing an issue, and that maybe I was having audio dropouts and I just wasn't paying attention, or maybe I was having some little bit of static and I wasn't paying attention, or maybe no one could hear me at all. And again, like, I was paying attention. I mean, I'm talking. I don't really care if anybody out there was listening. You know, everyone, let's do this and do this and do this. And why am I all doing it by myself? Well, because they can't hear me because my wire's bad. But, I'm having fun. So there's that. Me and
And the
Richard's.
nice thing is, if you do this now and you figure out you've got the bad cable, you, in theory, should have more money in the account because you haven't been living off of it for the next few months until it's, money starts coming in again if you don't have things set up that right way. But in addition to the fact, it also gives you time to purchase it and get it to you, right? As opposed to, if you wait till the last minute and it's like, oh, I got to go gig next week. Oh, that's right, that cable wasn't checked. I got to check it. Oh, it's bad. And yeah, now you're paying for expedited shipping.
Robin, thank you for posting the link. I'm actually going to copy and repost it because when I post it, it goes out to all the destinations. So you guys are going to see the same link that Robin posted, the cable tester. And then for those of you out on Facebook or Twitch or the other YouTube channels, now you'll get to see the link in the chat. So you guys can check that out. So thank you, Robin, for finding that. So this back when Jimmy DePalma and we had talked about wires and issues like this and such, and I would talk about, I got a wire that's going bad, and he's like, well, what are you doing with the wire? You gonna fix it? I'm gonna put a pin in it there. Would you guys, either of you, fix a wire, like an XLR wire?
I don't have the knowledge to do it and trust it to work.
Yeah, and I think Cubbie, I think you're right there with us also. Is that It's like, okay, so I do have the soldering, and I do have the soldering capability. I have done that before. It's not like I haven't done that before. I just look at it as the peace of mind of knowing that that if I just throw this bad wire away and just order one from Ben that has been built by professionals who do this all the time, I'm probably going to be a much happier person. Somebody posted on Facebook today, how do you alleviate stress from your weddings, because you get all stressed out and wound up. This is part of it. Is having knowing that you have wires. These aren't the cheap Amazon things or the ones that come with some of the lights sometimes, or that are just like, oh, wow. I think that inside this wire is bread cable ties in there. Yeah, a little wire tie. My bad.
I mean, it's one of those, I mean, I get what he was talking about, and to a degree, like if you have the knowledge but you don't trust it at an event, you could turn around, you could use it in a home system. It could then become your backup for a backup type of cable, right? Because if you have the knowledge to fix it, but you're just like me, like I could do it, but I don't know if I would 100% trust it to be my main cable, then I might mark it in such a way that says, only in emergencies.
Mm-hmm. And Robin, of course, is in the chat there. And Robin, who is very technically advanced, she could fix it, and I would trust Robin's work. Howie could fix it, and I would trust Howie's work. John fixes it, and I might think about using it as a jump rope, but probably not, because somehow I probably mess that up too. No, I don't think taking meds is going to help this. Well, I mean, it would help the stress, but I don't know if that would be good for this show. But that's another topic for another day. We'll talk about stress at the shows. So, Cubbie, what's something that you at this time of the year that you like to do with the gear side of things?
On the gear side, very first thing we'd like to do is do inventory. See where everybody's at, see what they need, what we need to replace, using the moat, checking all the cables, pulling them inside, because I live in the Midwest, so it's cold, so the cables, so you bring them inside so they warm up, so we can rewrap them and keep them, we stretch them all the way out again, and then we wrap them nicely, because sometimes in the season you're in a rush and you may not wrap them properly, or some of my guys get lazy. When you have employees, maybe not yourself, but when you do have employees that work for you, you got to make sure. But basically, inventory, checking up the cables, and making a list of what we need to purchase, and look for Black Friday deals.
Good point. Yeah, good. That's timing would be really good in that. And you mentioned, of course, the multi side of it. So you're looking for the deal times 3 type of thing, where you're not just buying one for yourself. You're needing to have the same thing across your whole company.
Correct.
How do you handle sticking with the multi? This is a question, and this is a great time to ask it. How do you handle it when someone has something at a show, or that had something that maybe they think a wire is bad at a show? How do they convey that message to you so that you can deal with it like in season?
Well, they all have backups. They all carry 2 XLR backups. So in case you're having a really bad night, not one backup, not 2, just 1 XLR, but they all have 2 XLRs in case they both go out at the same time.
Sure.
So they all have backups. But if something freakishly was to happen, my wife, God bless her, she would run a cord out to a DJ. She's done that before. Just have to tell her where it's at in the garage. She's not fully, knows where I keep everything, with all the spare cables and things. But keeping, thank God my wife, yeah, she would have to run out to wherever we're at.
Sure.
But they do have backups, and not just 1 backup, but 2 backups in case you're just having a really bad night.
So if that first one went down, then are they labeling it, or how are they going to, when they get back and after the show is done, how are they conveying that?
Throw it away. I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
I buy new ones. My clients pay for the best, and we just talked about not being able to fix it. Throw it away, get out of your bag. So you don't ever get to use it again. Just throw it away.
Sure. No, that makes sense, because that was one of the areas in which, when we had multi, is how do you handle that to make sure. And we ended up having it on the evaluation form at the end that the DJs would kind of fill out, making some quick notes. It's like, I want the 4 paragraphs, basically, in your eyes, how did the night go? Were there any problem with gear? If so, what were they? So we can get it fixed before the next time. And that's how. And there were, times where I think I've got a bad extension cord. It's like, oh, really? Why is that? Well, because there was this extra little pin on the extension cord, and the wall didn't have the extra little pin, so I just busted it off and put it in there, and it was great. You broke the ground pin off my $50 extension cord. Not that I'm bitter. I'm not bitter about that whatsoever, by the way. I just wanted you to know that.
Yeah.
You need to let it go.
Yeah, I did.
The proper tools to make the conversion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad I've gotten way beyond that one. I'm good now. I'm good now. So excellent, Dan. What do you do? What do you do in gear at this time of the year? What's something you'd like to try to do at the end of the season?
So I kind of take an inventory, not of the stuff I have, because obviously mine's in a much different light, but I start looking through everything that's on my shelf. During the season, I've got a couple shelving units that I use. In fact, they're just like right over there. And when I look at them, I'm like, man, like I came in from that event. It was late. I just kind of threw stuff on there, and I grabbed from it later in the season, but it's all a mess. So I try and organize the storage area that I have, and while I'm doing it, take inventory of, ooh, I don't think I used that since April, or I don't think I used that once in the past 2 years, right? I try not to just eliminate something, but then I start to kind of go, okay, is this something I really need to hang on to, or is it going to be able to be best used for me to sell it off and say that I no longer have whatever that piece is? Because it's just gotten to a point where trying to keep everything is just too much. And so taking inventory of the stuff that's actually being used and the stuff that's not, if it's quality enough that I can make money off of it, great. And if it's not, then I'm going to try and donate it somewhere that somebody might be able to use something with it.
Sure.
Use it for some other purpose.
Door stops.
Some of that stuff over there, yeah.
I mean,
there's no joke. I'm looking at a spindle of blank CDs.
Oh yeah.
I've used those since April.
Well, no, that was May. That was no. In all fairness, though, that spindle actually, I keep that one. Well, I kept it for the longest time for the idea of when I would have like a weird request for something afterwards. that I ended up going another route and doing flash drives with. So that will be gone. It's just not yet.
I ended up throwing a Univenture. One of the Cubbie, you remember Univenture?
Oh,
The
wait a minute.
the
Yeah.
CD sleeves.
Yes.
They had books, they had sleeves, and they had the different cases. Well, we ended up finding one of the Univenture books that they had, and I remember that particular book, buying it. It was $50 to buy that book, and it's like, oh, I hemmed and hawed, and that's just, oh my gosh, that's so much. I can buy this case for $100, but this book, then they're in a book and a binder book, and I can pull the individual discs out and put them in, and it'll be great, and it'll save me. So I never used it, and I threw it away the other day.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, it's just, I guess I'd rather get rid of it than to continue to store it because, it's only been here for 20 years. Well, actually, I used it back in May, but that's another story. No, I think that's a great idea, Dan, as that evaluation of what potentially could be making me money. And I applaud the realization that it's just, if I can't use it, it's probably doesn't have much value into finding a different home, because there's very little of our used DJ gear that has any kind of a value, unfortunately.
Well, not to mention, if I keep buying new gear, the wife doesn't get very happy if I don't have a spot to put it.
Mm.
So I need to get some stuff out so I have room for the new stuff coming
Space
in.
management is what you're really saying you're doing.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, no, that's a very important aspect, and I run into that out here a few times also, where it's like, you have another shipment that just came in. Those are neat things that came in. Where are you going to put them? Is the house garage open? That would be fun. I put them in a house and then they'd be out of the rain. Yeah, it didn't go over too well.
No, it never does.
Not so much. So I'm going to jump back to this. I'm going to stick with cables because I just enjoy wires and cables and such. And this is something that I end up doing a couple of times during the season, just because usually I'm in a spot like a barn or outdoors, and the cables get dirty. But then as Cubbie mentioned, the idea of recoiling cables that's kind of a thing I do. But it's to clean the cables. And what that looks like here is that I move the truck out and literally mop the floor, just a bucket and mop the floor to get the dust off the cement, because that's what I've got out there. Because I don't want to be wiping the cables and then coiling them and getting them just as dusty as they were when I started. So literally it's a damp mop, and just to get the dust off, and because it's a heated floor, it dries in like 37 seconds, and then I can do the cables. But it's to go through and pretty much all the 50 footers will get washed in about 2 weeks, because we'll be using some of them, and then after that, then they'll all. And I think we have, because of having to do some unusual shows, we have probably 40 or 50 foot cables that not all of them get used all the time, but there's a series of them that we'll be using and have to wash up and clean. So cleaning.
That's a great point, John.
But cleaning takes me to the next one. Is Cubbie, you've done some things for cleaning speakers a little bit. You've talked about off and on.
I was going to go. We talked a lot about all like cables, but we've also knocked dents out of grills in the front of speakers. We've taken the screws off and kind of tapped them out. They got a little dented throughout the season or whatever. But yeah, we use a magic eraser on our white EVs. We clean those up as much as we can. We use a magic eraser on the black ones as well, in case there's like a water spill and stuff. And we just clean them up, like especially when you're doing barns. Things can get dusty and dirty, and that white really does, looks kind of dingy if you don't clean it enough. But we use a magic eraser, and it cleans up really, really nicely.
So I know of the magic eraser because you've talked about it, and I saw a picture. I've seen it in the store, but I've never touched, felt, used one. Is it like, does it have a chemical in there? Do I need to wear rubber gloves or something, or do I have to get it wet, or is it like I spit on a speaker and then polish it? I'm not sure what they are.
Yeah, you want to dampen them, but not not get it too wet. And then it's like a sponge, like I said, it'll like a eraser. It's a magic eraser, and it will whittle it down as you use it, and then it'll get dirty. And so, like it's a square, and then like so one end will be like thinner than the other, because I'll use that side to clean, and then I'll put a little water on it as well. Then we dry them off and towels there and everything. But we don't oversaturate. We don't make them too wet.
Sure, understood.
Is there any, Probably one thing I've heard with those though is that it is an abrasive type of piece. like the magic eraser is. Like you don't have, obviously you're not pushing super hard on your gear.
Mhm.
So just kind of keep that in mind. Like I've heard that before. I've never had an issue with it. I don't use it on my gear, but I've used the magic eraser for some other things. Um, and it works. It's pretty slick the way it works, but I've heard that it can be abrasive if you're using something that's naturally smooth that you're rubbing it on.
Hmm.
So
And I never do it in the front either. My grates, I said, I'll unscrew the grates in the front, the metal grates in the front, and clean those separately. I never would put water directly in front of this, but I do clean the sides and the poles, in the back of the white, or I use the Evolve E50s, so it's easy. So I clean the sides in the back, and the sides in the top of the speakers, where the handles are at, in the top of the speakers where the top handle's at, but never in the front. I'll take the front off and clean it totally different.
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that? Because I've no, these guys have seen what I ran into. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, was it a
recently.
month ago when I
Yeah.
said that to you? Where I was like, my evolves are starting to look like they need cleaned. I'll be honest, I'd never cleaned them in the 6 years I've owned them. I'd never done anything to it, just always been kind of babied them. And I had somebody somehow must have spilled something on it walking past it or something like that, and I just never caught it. But it created this look to it. So what are you? You said you do that differently. Like, what are you doing with that portion for cleaning?
Well, I
Like,
still
what
use
are you
magic
using
eraser
that?
and soap and
Oh,
water,
okay.
but I just take it off. I don't leave it on this actual speaker. I just kind of take them off and dry them and then refix them. And same thing. So I have some pole speakers, the EVXs and stuff that I'll those get pretty easy because they're flat, and we'll clean those off and everything. Knock the dents out of those as well. I love to tell you my guys are always great on equipment, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
The end of the night is when they usually get the most dents because they're always dying to get out of there.
The one thing I would also say, just to kind of add to this, because I reached out to Ben because I was like, listen, I said I got to do something. I can't just. I think when I looked it up, the official thing is use like a dry cloth, and I'm like, well, that's not going to take anything off. So I reached out to Ben and I said, hey, what can I do here? Like, I need to do something, and the dry cloth that I'm seeing on the EV site is just not going to be enough. And he said, just if you're using a detergent, make sure it's a very mild detergent, and even cut that down if you can. And then just make it as, you know, close to dry as possible. So I grabbed a soap sponge of some sort and just got it really like slightly damp, and then just kind of wrung it out as much as I could. Just squeezed it, twisted it, the whole 9 yards. And then or the water that I had gotten, that was the soapy water that I did. And then I got it a little bit wet and then used that, and mine cleaned right up. And I was just like, oh my God. Like I was not expecting it to be cleaned up that quick, considering like it really wasn't wet. Like I used a very, very slight, and so I just went over the whole piece, the whole sides and top. I didn't worry about the grill, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Robin, this is gonna be. I want you to chime in on this one. When we're talking about cleaning some of the electronic pieces, especially getting around some of the more sensitive connections, alcohol. Have you? Because my kids, when we had an issue with some things, they were talking about using 96% alcohol to clean some electronics. Robin, what's your thoughts on that? I'd like to get your thoughts on that. But my boys use that to clean computer chips or some motherboards. That they were basically taking the alcohol and doing some dabbing with whatever to clean some of the areas off, and then they retreated the board with some cooling paste, I believe. I mean, it was way above my pay scale, and maybe it was a contact cleaner that would have been it. Okay. See, that's why I figured Robin would know more of this. This is kind of more in her wheelhouse with the electronics and that on that side of it. But so there are things out there that can be used when needed to clean and such. And truthfully, if you've got a situation like that, Robin's with us here. I would reach out. Robin's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that kind of stuff, because that is her forte. And she'll steer you in the right direction when it comes to that. That's why it's like, yeah, we'll ask there. Okay, Dan. Of course, you mentioned doing looking at things and maybe selling some things and moving those along. This is the time of year where I don't move things along as much. I have identified some things, usually, hopefully about midsummer, because then I can still sell some things before fall. This time of the year, I'm starting to look and I'm making my list of things that I might look for on Black Friday, but it's like, okay, here are, I want to get maybe I need to get a new bag for my Everse 8 type of thing. I need to get a replace this and replace these things that I don't need to function, but the nice, getting a better speaker covers over subs, because I was using some from my old subs that I had that I forgot to send with the guy, and I still had them, and it's like, well, they fit, but they drag. It's like, it's like wearing your big brother's pants, they drag in the mud, but hey, they at least covered it. And now I'm going to actually, instead of having a 15-inch sub cover on a 12-inch sub, I will get a 12-inch sub cover, that kind of stuff. Works. So that's been kind of that, I guess a wish list would be the best way to describe it. Is what it was. Like a few years back, one of the things on that was I wanted to get a Roland controller, and of course Black Friday, they were on special Black Friday, and I was fortunate. But if I wouldn't have put the thought into it and knew that that's what I wanted to do, I had to pull the trigger like real quick, because it was like there and gone. I think by the time I told Dan about them, they were gone almost by that time, or really close.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Yeah, it was they weren't there very long. So anyway, yeah, the wish list.
And then, like I said, late January NAMM always happens. So that's where they always release new gear in January, kind of like right after CES and NAMM. So that's stuff that'll be coming out later in the year that you can hope and save for as you look at your wish list. Different companies are coming out with different things at NAMM. So at the end of January, it's fun to see what's coming out, and waiting for the release dates for when it does release to save up for those cool new toys.
And generally about the first part of March is when Dan has looked at all those new things coming out, and he's already changing his complete plan for 2024. Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Do you think this would look good, or would this look
in all
good?
fairness, that's happening in a couple weeks here, just saying.
Black Friday would be all I'm going to be doing. Oh, funny. Okay, so let's kind of drift off from gear here. As far as the business side of it, what kind of things do you work with, kind of in the fall, to hopefully increase your social media presence, or to work with your social media presence, since that's such a big part of what we do. And I say fall, kind of the October, November, December time frame here. What is there anything that you kind of particularly do at this time of year?
I don't have. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was going to say one of the things I do is, or I shouldn't say one of the things I do. One of the things I'm doing, because in the past I was very horrible about this, is I went through this fall and the latter part of the summer, and really was trying to be intentional about getting as much footage as I could, getting as much bursts of people dancing, or bursts of uplighting being done, or things of that nature. And then I put them all into a Dropbox and identified. And then if I've got some photographers who've been kind enough to share some stuff out, I've been making sure that I've been saving a file with their information on it, so I know where the picture came from, not just the couple, but the photographer, so I can give credit for it. So that way, as I'm going through these off seasons and I'm starting to schedule, I can know what I have available, and I'm not trying to take 3 hours of footage down to find a 10-second clip that might work for me. So I've taking all that footage, and by having it all in Dropbox for me, it's also now not on my phone. Now I'm not scrolling through, all the personal pictures as well as all the business pictures to find what I need. So that's what I'm doing this year, in an effort to be more intentional about my posting.
Cubbie, are you doing anything with your social media stuff?
No, and I need to, but lucky enough, like I said, I'm kind of the oldest fish in the pond in my market, so we kind of do we get the leads come in. I need to get better at it. And every year I didn't go to this year, but I go to Wedding MBA and I learn the TikTok Academy and different shows. And you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And um, I guess been blessed. It's something I really, really need to do is jump all over social media. I know one of I forget it. Is it Stacy? Somebody's looking for a social media content provider that would post for her because she's like, I'm horrible. I'll forget you. I don't know if you guys saw it as well.
Yep.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to find somebody that wasn't too expensive that would, if I provide them the content that they just post weekly for me or something just to stay relevant.
Sure.
I generally focus more on my CRM, updating files, my DJ event planner. Dan, I have an email that goes out to my photographers 45 days after the event asking for all the pictures. Automatically goes out for the client. And I generally get them 9 times out of 10. I get them, oh my gosh, Cubbie, yeah, here, just tag us on Insta here or this. And I get them emails all the time with full access to everything.
That's a great idea. I have one that says, hey, let's stay connected and all that kind of piece. And it goes out within, I think it was then maybe 3 days after the event. And obviously at that point they've not done any editing. I like your idea of 45 days out. By that point, I think a lot of the photographers are in the right frame of mind to maybe say, hey, I've got a product here already. Here's the album. Like, I know I've done that. I've run into that kind of like when they've been posted. Some of my photographers I work with often, they know I like having this stuff. They'll send me it. So I like that.
And DJ Event Plan will do it for you automatically. Now, as I shared with you earlier, I don't do anything on social media. So those pictures, I kind of refresh my website with them, with the dance photos and tag them and stuff. And I feel bad because I do get them all the time. I get those emails, but I just don't do anything with them. I save them. I go in, I look through the portfolio of everything they have, and I'll pull a couple down and save them. But I'm just horrible at posting them, at reposting them. But give that a shot. Let the automatic email, let DJ Event Planner work for you, Dan. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised of all the pictures you get from all your photographers.
Yeah, that's a neat idea. Very nice idea.
A little social media tip, and this is something I kind of picked up for is, and this is one of the reasons why I was always horrible at it. I was always trying to do things in the moment. Or be like, you know what, I'm going to post something. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do it. And I would like find my picture and I find my caption or whatever that I'm going to do with it. And I would put or video or whatever, and I would post it. And then it would be like 2 weeks later, and I'd be like, oh, I haven't posted anything for a while and I got to post it. And it might be the worst time of day for it to post, but I was just like, I got to get something there. So I would just throw something at it. The best thing that you can do, and this is what pretty much any social media person will tell you, and John, if I'm completely wrong, then correct me on it, but the idea of sitting down with a calendar, just like the old school, like draw, like write on a calendar and figure out the type of content you're going to put out on which day of the week.
To be
So like,
consistent, yeah.
Mondays, I'm going to put this type of content. Wednesdays, I'm going to put something else. Fridays, maybe I'll do, here's about me Fridays, whatever, whatever, something like that. And put your content, kind of plan that idea of what your content is going to be revolve around. And then you can even schedule, like if you have the ability to sit down and crank a couple of them out, a couple of the images or videos out, you can schedule them. Now within Insta, you can't do reels scheduled, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but you can do a lot of other things where you can schedule them. So that's some little things that you can do. And just having that plan kind of takes away that, oh, it was 2 weeks, I got to just throw something at the wall and hope it sticks. Is there wrong, John? Or
no, that's pretty much and the only thing I would add, because that's a variation of what we're going to be doing, kind of combining your first part where you were more intentional about getting content, because that was something I had that conversation that Dan said we need to get more content at our shows. That's literally what I said. And they started taking pictures and getting little video clips and such. So we have this folder full of content. And the idea is that we're kind of going to be scheduling it to go up between Thanksgiving and February 1st. That's where we're going to be posting on a consistent basis during that particular time. The idea is that that's when people are going to be, many are looking and going around and doing their thing. And then once we're done, once we get past that point, maybe we'll drizzle some things out here or there or share whatever. But really, after someone's got you booked, they're probably, unless they may like and follow your page, but they're not going to be engaging with your social media every day or even every month. But I want to make sure that that some of the really good content we had from this year is hitting consistently when people are like, oh yeah, hey, here's a place, and there's some recent posts, and because they're not going to go down 6 posts. If they look at the top couple of posts and they're like, oh yeah, there's some stuff there, unless there's that is kind of the plan, and we'll see how that works. But yeah, somebody mentioned some website to update the web. Oh, Dave mentioned update the website and such, and this is a great time of the year. As Cubbie mentioned, he's got these pictures now that he's got all these great pictures, but he's not going to use them on social media because he's just he's that guy. But he'll put them on a website.
Yes. I do keep my website fresh. Like I said, I use a lot of those pictures on my website. I just need to get better at social media. And I'm being real. I'd love to sit here and be on a show and be like, oh, I do this perfectly, but I don't. I'm going to do some real like all you other guys. That's just one area that I really fail at.
Speaking of website, and I know this is a little bit different than what we're going to, but when you're looking at your website, also look at it for certain numbers, aspects, and different things. I was looking at a DJ's website just recently. I don't even know why I was on the site, but I ended up there. And when I was looking, like a lot of the content that they had like there was monograms, right, that had dates from like 10 years ago.
Yep.
Right, like it's and there was nothing that I could see that showed me that there was anything new
more recent
on there.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 reasons why that's hurting you. One is from the eyes of a client, right? If when they're looking at it, things are dated because legitimately they're dated, and they're not current, then that's going to potentially look against them. And then your ranking is not going to be where it could be because you're not updating things, most likely. If everything that you show is from, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it might be time to kind of, get in there and at least put some newer content on there so it ranks as a little bit more important.
And if you're posting reviews, don't put the year that they reviewed you. Just leave the date off it. Bobby
Even to that, like you don't have to post the
2016.
whole review.
No, but
Take a snippet or 2 out of it, tops. Like that's plenty.
How do you guys, as far as changing methodology of contacting or things such as that, is that something that you have it where that maybe you've got a phone number on it and then you move from a phone number because people seem to be texting more and you're encouraging texting on your website, and then maybe you're figuring that information portal, where they fill in a request for information. Have you guys changed that focus or the contact method over the years, or have you basically fill in the DJ event planner form and we'll get back to you and start with the process?
Who's first?
Right, Cubbie.
Okay. So the very first thing I do is have an auto reply on my DJ event planner for when they put an information says we'll be with you within 24 hours. Email always goes out, and then I text him and I'm like, hey, it's Cubbie from Select Entertainment, and I says, want to give you a heads up. I sent you an email. If you don't find it, look for your junk or spam. Look forward to hearing back from you. So now if they're a texter, they're going to text me back, and that's the conversation, the route they want to take. If they then go look at my email me back, then they were emailing back and forth,
Sure.
and I've done a couple of this back and forth. But I always, as soon as I send out my initial email, I always text them just in case you get caught up in a spam folder. Some lockdowns on theirs or a work folder that hey, look, just if you don't see it, check your junk or your spam folder. And then I put like a stupid Forrest Gump waving like this. It says hi, just make me smile. As soon as they see it, they smile. And then I follow up with two other times. If I don't hear back from them in 3 days, it's hey, you still looking for entertainment? And then the last one is always garners a response. It always garners a response one way or the other. One, you already found, hey, it's great talking to you. Or if I've talked to them, and I haven't heard back, then I'm like, hey, it was great talking to you, but I haven't heard back from you. If they'd never written back, that's, hey, I haven't heard back from you. You either one, have found another DJ company. If so, let me know and I'll stop bothering you. Two, you're still on the fence about it and you still have questions. Let me know if that's the case, because I'd love to, answer all your questions. Or three, you've fallen and you can't get up, and in that case, I'll call 911. And I always get a response. Even if it's number one, I'm like, oh, great, thanks, congratulations. Number two, I get a lot of number twos. Hey, we're still thinking about it. I'm like, great, would you like to talk again? If you have any additional questions, let me know. But then I always follow up that email of, oh my God, I'm so glad you didn't fall. I hope you smiled when you read it. It shows your personality a little bit,
Sure.
that you're great, you're humorous, whatever. And that, in this, I'm ready to talk when you are ready to book. And then, like I said, those three things, give them an out. Yeah, I've already booked somebody, so they'll get back with me. So I stop bothering them. Two, they're on the fence. So then I know they're on the fence. Three, it's just a joke.
And you're contacting. You mentioned, of course, you're emailing or texting. So you're using multiple methodologies of communication or phone call.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heaven forbid if somebody would actually do that.
Well, that's just it, John. I haven't made a phone call probably in 5 years. They're not going to pick up. I think you're just kind of wasting your time in that text. A text is going to reach them, and they're going to read their text. And if they want to call you, they'll call you. But these millennials, I'm not trying to put it in a pigeonhole any age group. It's just that people, everybody, me. Well, I answer all my phones no matter what. But 9 times out of 10, people are just not going to pick up the call if they don't recognize the number.
Very much so.
Anybody else? You guys call? I don't know. Maybe I'm the bad guy. I mean, I'm doing it wrong.
I haven't. I was just trying to think. I've called for planning meetings or that kind of a thing.
Oh, right.
But,
yeah, no, this is on a sales. Strict sales, like a cold call.
Sales, no. Let's see. I've had a couple of mothers talk to me this fall. So it was the mothers of the bride type of thing. So we're talking people who are in their 50s.
Yeah.
That still know how to start a conversation via telephone without a yo, LOL, IDK, TTFN, whatever. What other things do the kids talk about? I don't know.
Pretty sure that I don't use any of those. So on my site, I have a spot where I call, text, whatever, and right there's my number. I've got my I've got my email address in another spot, and then I've got my form. I want to make it as easy as possible, so I don't want to alienate anybody. I don't want to have an opportunity where they would prefer to text and I'm only requiring a form, or they would prefer to email and I'm only requiring them to call. Like, what I don't want any of those restrictions in the way. So I've got it set up. I want to say all of my requests from this year came in either via an email directly or through my form.
Yeah.
And even the email directly was only like 2. And it was one of those things when I get the email, I go, why did they use the form? That was like, and keep in mind, I keep my form short on purpose. Like, that was something that I learned from Alan Berg. Like, you do not want to put everything in the form. In fact, you really only need to know their name and how you're going to contact them back, and then run it from there, because then it opens the door for communication and conversation. So I have it set up that way. Everything goes through. Cubbie, the one thing I'm curious, are you using the automatic texting in your DJEP? Okay, so that's one thing that I've started to use because I didn't have it set up rightly, and Karen was very kind and with Perfect Portals to help me get that set up, so that when I hit my booking helper that says, "Hey, a lead came in," it will send them out the email that says, "Hey, let's talk. I want to know more about what you're telling me about." It also shoots them that email or that text, like you're saying, that says, "Hey, I just sent you an email because you reached out to me. Check out your spam, and if you didn't, please let me know." And so they get it in both, and I don't have to think about a darn thing because it all is automatic. And that's the key for me, because I was finding, like, I would send an email and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm taking care of this." And then I go over to my phone. She's just like, "Now what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm still trying to get the same person." And she's like, I'm like, and I realized I could have it like saved or whatever and just copy and paste, but it's still the matter of doing multiple things when I'm trying to do family time or anything else.
So my auto response on my lead is literally super generic. Um, and says, look, if it's over the weekend, it may take us longer to get back to you. Super generic. My initial email is more personable, like I really wrote it out. It's a cut and paste job and changing a couple names, but it looks as though I wrote it,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
changing a few things, and then that's when I text them that that I sent that email.
I would still, I mean, I would still work it in. You could still potentially work it in um, with that auto piece
Right.
or whatever. Or even just having an auto text build in, or not an auto text, but a saved text template built in. So that way it's a matter of just hitting the button and then that sends out too.
Did and I used to work for DJ Event Planner. When I was there, you had to have a Twilio account, and it was a different number than what was your office number. Is that still the
Yeah, there's
case, or
still
is that
that crappy piece of detail, but I have mine set up because that's also what I use for when I send pictures out through my photo booth. So I
okay?
use that number for
You can
multiple things.
utilize it. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, as far as communicating and such, the for a couple of years ago, I did a video talking about the Messenger, how you could make a direct link for Messenger, and for a period of time, that was really, really good, crazy good. They'd reach out and want to communicate and talk there. Then it went away, and now this fall, it's made a comeback. The negative thing is that if they come to me directly, I've been pretty good at it. Shows it, but I went the other day and I went to the people who'd messaged me through my DJ John Young Facebook page. They went into a spam filter or another filter there or another folder, and I didn't realize that there were 4 people who had reached out this fall looking for next year's shows, and that's where they sent a message, and I did not see them. So
Nobody's got an idea.
I have an auto responder on my Facebook says, hey, I don't always look at this page. Please email me at andy@selectentertainmentiowa.com. You'll get a faster response. I put an autoresponder on my messenger just for that purpose, John, because same thing was happening. And I wasn't the method, like you said, just goes in a weird place. But so I
yeah.
set an autoresponder to lead them directly to my personal email address, my earpiece, so you get a better contact.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a frustrating part about that. But again, much as you guys talked about, it's email, text message, and I've got some text message back and forth that are 50 to 100 back and forths, and it's just it's nice from the standpoint I can go back later and I can go and it's like, oh yeah, here's a song that for some reason that night they heard a song and they're like, oh, we gotta have this at our wedding, and they put it in it. It's like, okay, I can at least go and that a couple of weeks beforehand type of thing when I'm kind of thinking about the layout, I can go and take all the notes from the couple of different places that they were between their emails and then that and I keep a page of my notes, my Apple Notes area that there's the June 26th wedding for these people, and then I can just keep pasting it in there if I have to, and then I can move it the DJ event planner thing when I get back to my office. But the notes follows my tablets and my phone and everything, so I can always move things quickly.
John, I got a question. You mentioned, so when you did the video before you did it with Messenger, is there a way for them to do it to set that up with like Instagram's messaging?
I don't know about that actually. Instagram messaging is an area that I'm struggling with myself because I've not been very successful with it, because once they implemented it where it ties into Facebook, it's more confusing. And I know Michael has this is actually a conversation I want to have with him when he comes home. I think this weekend is that I'm not sure, and he does more of that. So I was going to talk to him more about that. So that's a future discussion. See what he has more
Well,
insight.
stay tuned.
Yeah. There's one more area I want to hit, but I think we're going to leave this one and probably maybe even do this one as a standalone, because I wanted to talk about off-season networking. And Day mentioned one of the things in the chat there that we're going to talk about for what we've seen done, what we have done, and what we think we should have done, but we were pretty much too busy eating bonbons. I mean, not that I've ever eaten bonbons, but I've heard people do. I've heard people do.
Little Debbie's.
Ooh, the little chocolatey frosting on the top. That's so really good. Yummy. But anyway, so the networking side, off-season networking, I think we'll put that onto another night and do that one kind of as a standalone, because there's some great things. This is a great time of year to do that, so that's why we may even just aim to do that in the next week or two, depending upon how the schedule goes. So, thank you, gentlemen. That was good. Let's see. So, hanging with Howie, DJNTV.com/chill is. Brian's going to be doing the show tonight. Great. So Brian's there. Thank you, Brian. Go jump in there and hang out with Brian, and he'll talk shop tonight with you guys. And then tomorrow night they'll be doing the recording of the Tuesday Night Music Show. Tomorrow night we will have Big Daddy, his show at 9 o'clock Eastern. He's going to have special guest Jamie Perez on. And then at 9:30 tomorrow night, we're going to have Ben Stowe coming in there, and we're going to talk about subwoofers and give you a couple of tips on how to add some subwoofers to your Evolve 50 or your mini array systems, to give you an idea of how to do that, to get a little bit more bass out of that. So, but those are 25-minute shows, so they're a little quicker. So you don't plan to come and catch the second half, because there's no second half. It's just the first half. And then Wednesday night, the two shows will past Hanging with Howie and the past Tuesday Night Music Show will be dropping, so you can catch them there. And I think we're ready to go.
Yeah. So, by the way, I've got one extra tip, and my tip is going to happen Wednesday morning because it's already there for you. So, another thing you can do in the off season.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for taking time to join us tonight. It's been wonderful hanging out with all of you. I appreciate all the comments that you've been throwing in the chats as well. And so hopefully you've got some plans for your off season. And if not, don't worry, we're going to keep talking about this, because John's got like some other topics he wants to put with it. I don't know. But anyway, we appreciate you all. Have yourself a great one. We'll see you next time.